Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today we're talking about Hulk, man. Originally, when I did a quick rundown of all of the new uniforms, I talked about Hulk's first, and I gave it 2 thumbs up, and I said it was very good, and I maybe said that it might be one of the best new uniforms of the update, one of the best. And while it is a big upgrade for Hulk, it's also a bit awkward in terms of where he fits into the game. So I think I have to talk down my initial review of Hulk. It's a good uniform. Is it necessarily top 3? I don't know. Ronan and Thanos are pretty much 1 and 2 there in some order. I don't really know if Hulk's number 3. So I want to just talk a bit about his uniform changes because they're not all buffs. And then I'm going to take him into 2 different game modes so you can see what I'm talking about a little bit more. So I think the biggest change for Hulk is the fracture. They've added fracture. He's gotten fracture now on 4 out of his 5 skills. So 1, 2, 3, and 5 all have fracture, which is a huge change. The character never had fracture before. Fracture is a very rare skill. Very few characters have it. However, it doesn't seem to be as good as some of the other characters' fracture. And I think for most people, when they think of fracture, they think of Strife. Strife's fracture is a little bit different. It lasts for 10 seconds rather than 5, which is a big difference. In addition, fracture is something that needs to be stacked with many hits. So the more hits your character deals with each skill that has fracture, the better. Hulk has a lot more hits, don't get me wrong, but he still has fewer hits than Strife. And Strife can kind of summon things and then cancel into other skills. Hulk can't summon his fists. You know, the problem that a lot of combat characters have is you can't cancel into other skills and kind of combo your skills. And so because of that, they need higher base stats and they need to hit harder because what are you going to do? Cancel your fist and it keeps punching and you're doing some other punch with a different, you know, it just doesn't make sense thematically and logically. So combat characters really have that uphill battle, whereas blast characters, you know, starting way back with Doctor Strange, they're able to cancel multiple skills and have all of those magical or telekinetic or whatever kind of cosmic effects happening all simultaneously, and they can sort of skill combo. Apocalypse is one of the few that can do that, and to an extent Minerva as well, where she can summon the plane, the ship, but for the most part characters like Hulk cannot do that. So that's why those are the 2 reasons. One of them is like literally you can see it's 5 seconds versus 10 seconds. The other one is just how the fracture is applied. Now, in addition to fracture, Hulk also now has ignore iframe. So this is a very meta effect, and he can now attack characters when they're in iframe. But the skill itself only has a short iframe at the beginning, so it's actually not that good. You can use it hypothetically to interrupt another character's iframe when they're in it, and I will hopefully be testing this eventually against a Deadpool, because I want to see if it cancels Deadpool's 4th skill in the middle of the animation, or for example canceling Quicksilver's 5th skill or 4th skill. It may make Hulk a very good counter for those 2 characters specifically, not only because he is a combat type where they are speeds, so he does get that enhancement bonus, but also because the fracture will stop them from healing. Quicksilver doesn't heal as much as Deadpool, but still, and it will interrupt their iframe, which is one of the most powerful pieces of their kit. So Hulk definitely has some tools that are available to him that make him very good. He's also got some penetration, only 50%, but he does have some with his 5th skill, and he now has 5 seconds of immunity on his 4th skill, which has a much larger AoE. However, they did take some things away. They took away his all defense down on his 5th skill, so that makes him a little bit worse for PvE, and they did kind of shuffle around some of his iframes. So he still has a brief iframe at the beginning of his 1st skill, but it's a lot harder to find. His 2nd skill iframe is the whole attack, so it's one of his best skills. Very, very short iframe on 3, and then I believe he also has an iframe in the end and somewhere in the beginning of 5. So he's got some kind of intermittent iframes, but really the only skill where you can really count on the iframe is the 2nd skill. So that is kind of a nerf where he originally had, you know, iframes on 1, 2, and 3 with Ragnarok. Again, I don't think it's less iframe time, it's just where they are in the skills makes it a bit harder to time them. The iframe happens so long into Anger Burst that you can't really time that ahead unless you can see into the future and know what the world boss's next attack is going to be before they even trigger it. Because by the time they trigger the attack, you don't have enough time, even with max attack speed, to get through your animation and get to the part of the skill that's an iframe. Additionally, although he does get a bump to his heal, his enraged passive, it's not enough. So this is kind of where things get a little bit awkward for Hulk. He doesn't have any other uniform bonuses other than Enraged. So if you take a look at his uniform effect with Ragnarok, he's got the 3% recovery for 5 seconds, then he's got 15, 15, 15 for 5 seconds. With the new uniform, he's got 3% recovery, and then he's got 20, 20, 20 with the 25% ignore dodge. Now, the 25% ignore dodge, again, it's good for characters like Quicksilver and possibly Spider-Man, but the heal remains the same. So here's where it gets kind of awkward for Hulk. They've given him a lot of PvP abilities. Fracture, ignore iframe. They haven't buffed his heal, and yeah, he's got a heal, and yeah, he's got 35% damage reduction, but it doesn't seem to be enough, and this is the awkward thing. So he seems to be better for PvP, but he's not better for PvP. Now, I imagine, this is just speculation, but I imagine that he could become a huge headache if he gets a tier 3. Because we know tier 3 combat types get crazy stat bumps, and that may be what it takes to make him a viable force to really shut down Deadpools, but it's hard to tell. Additionally, right now in Timeline Battle, Deadpool is banned, so it's really hard to find a Deadpool. So I've been trying to find other teams that have kind of some similar characters, some speed types, or possibly Wolverine. But the problem is I can't even get through the first character, in this case, Jean Grey. And this team I'm going to fight against, I'm just going to show you one match so you can see. I did like 5 or so off stream, and it was the same thing over and over again. This guy doesn't even have the best build. He's got a 140 movement speed immunity proc on Jean Grey. We're not talking CTPs, we're not talking some crazy stuff. I've got 60% increased HP from both Captain America's leadership, as you'll see when it loads, and Victorious. So we've got, you know, tons of HP. He's got 140,000, but he just dies so fast. The heal is not enough. He gets one-shotted. Literally, he gets one-shotted. And listen, I know what you're going to say. Well, Cynicalex, you let Jean Grey proc on her best skill, so of course you're going to get one-shotted. Okay, so we'll let Captain America get one-shotted. We'll let him eat that first attack. Let's see what Hulk does later on. The point I'm trying to make here, guys, is that you basically don't have that many options for PvP. You either kill them first, or you have iframes that you can hide behind, or you have a tremendous heal. Hulk has none of those things. He has the iframe on too, but that's about it. Now, I don't have the best build for Hulk, so I may sound like I'm saying Hulk is trash for PvP. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm a little bit surprised that his heal is so low, because 3%, guys, it's like less than Gwenpool's heal with her uniform. 3% doesn't cut it in PvP anymore. I mean, 5% on Wolverine barely cuts it, and he's tier 3. And you can still get one-shotted by certain characters, and that's 1%, you know, that's 5% when he's below 99, not below 90. So I do think that if you want to build Hulk for PvP, and I'm not saying it's a bad idea. He seems to be, he seems like he could be very good for PvP. If you want to build him for PvP, and I have most of a PvP build, by the way. I've got 5-star HP Uru. I've got his gear at 25 for gamma radiation. They're not all 25, but you know, we got the double HP here. We've got the rare uniform, trying to maximize his stats here so we can take advantage of his CTP of Rage. I have kind of an awkward build on him, I'll admit that. I think a CTP of Regeneration would definitely be a much better fit for him, and you can see I was getting guard breaking by Jean Grey and stuff like that. I think he could be a better force, but I just wonder and I worry if his kit is enough as is, and especially with Enraged, is he going to be able to out-heal, you know, Captain Marvel's 4th skill? Because that's the thing, Boxer Shuffle would be good to interrupt Captain Marvel or kill her, but if he dies while she's doing it, what does it matter? You know, and if he's only available against specific speed types, is it really worth building him up? However, alternatively, you could build up Hulk for PvE, and this is what the rest of the video is basically trying to entail. I'm not trying to rain on Hulk's parade for PvP. I think he has potential. He shows flashes of potential in PvP. I just think that he might be short of the mark. Even with a mythic uniform, even with a CTP of regen, he may not be better than Wolverine and Deadpool, in which case, why would you build him when you could build Wolverine and Deadpool? So that being the case, we are going to jump into some Proxima World Boss Ultimate. I know I do a lot of Proxima for World Boss, but he doesn't really do as well against Corvus because of the damage reduction like Ronin. He obviously can't do Cull Obsidian or Ebony Maw, so it's basically just Proxima or Thanos. I could do Thanos, and I think he can get pretty close on like a stage 25 Thanos, but I don't think you guys are very impressed by a stage 25 Thanos because it seems so much less than a stage 50 Proxima, even though it's way harder. So for all you veterans out there who know how hard a stage 25 Thanos is, I'm pretty sure Hulk can do it. But now we're going to jump into a stage 50 Proxima. This should be more impressive for some of you guys. And he's good for PvE. Again, I'm not saying he's a bad character at all. I'm not saying that he has no use in PvP. I just think that he's being pulled, maybe pulled in too many directions. And maybe if his kit leaned more towards PvP, he would be a stronger force. And possibly when he gets his tier 3, that will be the case. But until then, we really don't know. As far as the rotation goes, for a CTP of energy or a proc with a, an obelisk with a proc, you want to generally trigger it with your second skill because he throws up those rocks, and then you want to go into the fourth skill for the actual proc. It does the most damage, the fourth skill. The fifth skill does damage, but it's spread out. So you can see there, it doesn't really benefit from a CTP of energy. It benefits from a CTP of rage. So if you do have a rage CTP, you can go ahead and use him for that. But otherwise, I don't like using 3, and I don't like really using 1. 1 is okay because it's a bit fast, but 3 will get you stuck. Kind of, stand there punching, and you don't want that, and you have no protection from it, so you have to be careful. Generally, I just do 4, 2, and 5. So I use 2 to dodge, tornadoes because it's a full iframe, and I still get snared. But I use it to dodge obstacles and environmental hazards, and then I use it also to trigger the proc, and then I use either 5 or 4, depending on how I'm feeling and depending on how much HP I have, to get the majority of my damage in. I think 4 is a bit more consistent. The only issue is that with 4, you give up the immunity that you could have for the rest of the time when you use it during the proc, because then you have to just hide for the rest of the time. But you could do 4 proc, 5, and then 2, and that would probably be a pretty good use of your time. But right now we are behind on the time. We're about 30 seconds short, so we're going to need to hit some of these procs a little bit better, and that was a complete miss there. I don't think he can tank the circles, the purple circles, if they come up, so we do need to be careful of that. But otherwise, we just missed another proc. Otherwise, he should be okay. It's not bad. The fifth skill's not bad, but it's not that special either. We're going to try to proc on 4 here. There we go. We got it, and it's not bad. It's like close to half a bar when you get it to land properly, and when you get it to nope, iframe. Yeah, so Hulk does pretty well. I think he may still be the 3rd best uniform from this update just because it's such a crazy upgrade for him, but it's a lot harder to see exactly where he fits. There's no question that Ronin's not a PvP character. Kind of like Gambit, he's useful for one thing. He's just going to do a lot of damage, and he's going to do a lot of damage quick. And yes, I did forget about his all defense down. I saw all the comments in the YouTube video. I will cover that in a later episode, but yeah, I'm just not sure what the plan is for Hulk. If he's going to get, I don't think he's going to get another uniform later. I haven't seen Endgame, so I'm not going to make any comments on that. But I'm just not sure. Tier 3, I guess. Tier 3 could solve a lot of Hulk's issues, kind of like Wolverine, where tier 2 level 70 is just not enough to make him viable defensively. But once he gets those extra stat bonuses, especially the HP and the defense from his tier 3, he's able to tank 95% of the damage in the game. And unless you get like a full combo from Strife, or you get the binary +4 from Captain Marvel, you're just not going to kill him. I don't imagine Hulk is going to be as strong defensively as Wolverine, but keep in mind, the HP heal that Hulk has, it's a lot less than Wolverine's, but he's got 35% damage reduction. Now, from what I'm seeing here, I don't think the damage reduction is actually better than that, but who knows? Maybe with tier 3 and everything, it will be better. But that may answer your question in case you ever wondered what's better. Better healing. And I think it's just, I think that the healing is better because you can tweak it. You can enhance it with max HP from your cards, or recovery rate from your cards, or max HP or recovery from team-ups and kind of leaderships and passives. Whereas you can't increase the all defense down. You can give yourself 20% damage reduction from Volstagg, but that's kind of a stupid thing to put on a team because Volstagg's pretty much a useless character on your PvP team. He's not going to do anything. You could use Blue Marvel's leadership for the 50% all defense, but that's pretty useless as well. It's not the same as damage reduction. So I'm not really sure how to tweak Hulk into being a force in PvP the way that Wolverine and other characters that heal are. We're getting pretty close to the end here. We are still behind. We could still get it though. We just need a bit of luck on some of these procs, and we're really not getting it. That's why I brought Coulson along for the 20% guaranteed crit, because Hulk with a CTP of Rage does have a bit of problem procking. I don't know if honestly I would go for a PvP build with Hulk at the end of the day. I think if I was restarting, I'd probably just go full PvP and see if he has potential. Even if he's just killing Deadpools, I think that's a pretty good thing. And if he can be consistent about it, I would honestly, personally like that, because Deadpool's actually quite annoying. But we're going to get one more proc in here, and we'll maybe get down to... Yeah, it's not bad. So I think if I clean that fight up a little bit, I missed a lot of procs. He can definitely do it. I've done it on stream before. Don't think that was his best run ever, because it's definitely not. So he has flashes of, you know, I would say, you know, top 10, top 15% value. Not top 10 in the game, but top 15% value for PvE and possibly for PvP. But I just don't know where to put him now, and I think I may have initially overvalued the uniform a bit. It's probably still top 5 in my opinion for this new update, because a lot of the other uniforms, while they do give buffs, the buff is not as great. So in terms of me saying it's top 5, I'm talking about how much better the uniform makes the character. Captain America is probably still a better character overall than Hulk, but in terms of how much better Captain America gets from his uniform, he really only has one major skill change, whereas Hulk has, you know, 4 or 5 skill changes, a completely redesigned kit that surrounds Fracture and Ignore Iframe, new AoE, and he's got a better buff on his heal. So let me know what you guys think of the big green monster. What would you do, if anything, to change or enhance his kit, or is he good as is and I'm just complaining for no reason? Subscribe if you enjoyed the content and you want to support me, and of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.